Am I audible? Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, so let's begin. Okay, so first of all, a very good evening to one and all. We are Zero Bucks Club, bringing you this long-awaited ML bootcamp to help you forge yourselves into adept and proficient developers and get a hold of this profound area as you all pave your paths towards becoming eminent alumni of VIT Chennai. The bootcamp will be led by Mr. Raj Sangani, a data science intern from Folk Developers and currently working at NextWell Enterprises as an ML engineer in Bangalore. In addition to it, he also has experience in working as a research intern as well as developing explainable AI for sentiment analysis. Without a doubt, he is among the best persons and mentors who can guide us in this learning process. Along with him, we will learn not only the real world applications of ML, but also working on the projects. Malay, can you please proceed? Hello, Malay. Alright, so Malay is facing some issues. So let's proceed. So before we begin, let us get ourselves familiar with some of the session plan we will be following. So the sessions will be starting at 6 p.m. every Saturday and 11 a.m. every Sundays. And at the session on Sundays, the participants will be provided with a quiz link containing 10 MCQ questions with a time limit of 10 minutes. The questions will be comprised on topics taught on both days of the week, that is on Saturday and Sundays. And at the end of the third week, a project will be assigned to each participant. And at the fourth week, the discussions will be held regarding the analysis and the improvement on the projects that you would be doing. So, and on the basis of the performance you do and the project work, certificates will be provided to each of you. And in case of any problem or any queries, you can contact the coordinators, that is me and Malay, or we have provided a discussions channel on the Discord. So you all can post your doubts and queries over there, and our technical team would be really more than glad to help you with your queries. So now I would like our President Taniksh Gupta to speak a few words. Guys, I think they are facing some issue. Can you please wait a while?
Guys, I'm really sorry. Tanishq is facing some issues. So yeah. Hello everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for joining and Raj Bhaiya for agreeing to do this. We have been planning this event for a while now and we're waiting for the perfect plan to be laid out. The ZBC team and Raj Bhaiya have really worked hard over the last few days to map out the event and prepare the whole roadmap along with the quizzes and assignments for a wholesome learning experience. We all know the importance of machine learning and thus the importance of this bootcamp. I would say, along with a great opportunity, it is also a duty to attend the session seriously and make the best use of them. Lastly, about the quiz. See, we have the whole schedule already sent through mail, so you know the topics to be taught in every session. It would be great if you study those topics by yourself also, apart from attending the sessions, to get the best results. Then you can check your learnings by giving the quiz seriously. Because see, when you are investing time, it should be worth it. So yeah, let's embrace this journey and learn something new together. Now, without much further ado, I would like Mr. Raj Nandani to take the lead and commence today's session.
Okay, so firstly, thank you, Jagar and Rishik. And okay, let's begin. So they already said a few things about me, and I'm currently working as a machine learning engineer. I'm also in my fourth year, so I'm interning. So first, let's get started. Okay, so first things first, I want to tell you that apart from whatever is being taught, I'm also going to share a lot of resources. I'll share a lot of blogs. I'll share a lot of YouTube videos or notebooks or GitHub links. So please go through that. And what I'll do is say for like next week we're going to do regression. So tomorrow I'm going to give you some links and resources for regression. So I'd like you guys to just go through it once before attending the session. And similarly, tomorrow we are going to be doing EDA. So that's exploratory data analysis. And so at the end of today's session, I'll be giving you some blogs and some resources to follow. Okay, so let's get started. So today I'm going to be talking about NumPy, and NumPy it forms the basics of machine learning. So as you guys probably know, machine learning will involve a lot of maths, and you can obviously do normal maths with Python, but there is a library written which handles important functions with you, a lot of matrix multiplications, transposes, and more importantly, it's much faster than you writing code because they've optimized it for GPUs and things like that. So I'm going to be sharing my screen and I've prepared a small notebook and I want you guys to go through it. Okay, so I've put the link in the chat box and I'd like all of you to open it. So on top here, there's a link to open it in Collab, and I want you guys to click on that. Is everyone with me so far? Stop me at any moment if you feel I'm not audible or anything. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
So yeah. So basically, once you click on this link at the top, you'll come to something called Collab. And now let's take a few minutes to talk about Collab. So usually people run Python codes on their laptops or whatever natively, but this is like a cloud environment. It gives you about 60 GB or 120. One second, I'll just see how much. So the free tier has it has 12 GB of RAM and it has some disk space. So they've already loaded in a basic OS and everything for you, and you can start running code right from here. Okay, so here basically you can only run Python. So remember that it's also similar to a Jupyter notebook. If anyone has used a Jupyter notebook, if you've not used it, don't worry. It's basically just writing Python code in a cloud environment, and it's called Google Colab. So as we proceed through the course, we learn more and more features about Google Colab, like how to upload a data set, how to load a data set from Google Drive or from GitHub, and how to save a notebook to GitHub and everything. But for today, I'll just start with NumPy. And so this is a very important link. And after today's session, I want you guys to go through it once. I've picked up the best parts from there, and even like otherwise from my experience, which I think that most data scientists face every day. but this is like a 30-minute read, and it covers everything about NumPy, and it's one of the best things I've seen. Okay, so starting with NumPy. Now let's talk about a NumPy array. So if you guys pay close attention here, this is basically like a list of lists. So inside one list, we have three sublists, and that's basically like creating a matrix in Python. If anyone has done that, and what happens is we convert a regular list to a NumPy array using this command np.array. So after you run this, you will have something a matrix like this. So as you can see, it's a 3x2 matrix, and a.shape gives you the dimensions of the matrix. And now, importantly, you can compute, like I said, you can compute any mathematical function. It almost covers everything. So here we have the mean. And okay, it's important to understand what axis is because it'll be used in many functions. So axis here refers to the shape. So here, this is it's a two-dimensional tuple. Basically, the first at the position 0 or the index 0 we have 3, and at index 1 we have 2. So axis 0 means along the first axis here, so along the axis of 3, so that is the rows. Basically what this means is you want to compute the mean along the rows. So like 1 plus 3 plus 5 divide by 3 because there are 3, and 2 plus 4 plus 6 divide by 3. So if you see here, this comes out to be 9, and 9 by 3 is 3, and similarly this comes out to be 12, and 12 by 3 is 4. So that's how you compute the mean. Now if I want to do the same thing along the columns, then what I do is I change the axis. So just remember this. Again, you can change this by median, mode, anything. Basically, there are a lot of functions, and again, the comprehensive list of those functions is given here. But I've just shown you one such function. So remember this axis parameter of this function. Okay, and this is basically slicing. So just like your normal Python list, you can slice an NP array. And if I slice the first row, I get 1 and 2. So again, and now if I go for the second element in the first row, you get this. This is very self-explanatory. Okay, now this is important. Remember that here I'm slicing up to the second row, so this index 2 is not included, just like you would not included in normal Python slicing. And this basically means all the columns. So the comma separates the two axes. So the first axis is the row. If you mention nothing at the beginning, it means take it from the first index or the starting up to the second row, but not including the second row, and take all columns. So this was our original matrix 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'm not taking the second row. Here, 2 basically it's 0 indexed, so 2 is the last one. So I'm not taking the last row. Now another important function here is called reshape, and what reshape does is basically change the shape of the array. Now a lot of times when we'll come to this, when you're using machine learning models or deep learning models, the models will have a certain form of input. So some of them require you to flatten an array. So if the matrix is like in a 3x2 dimension form, they want you to arrange it in a linear fashion. So they want everything to be in one row. That is a required input of some models, which we'll come to later. So this is what the reshape array does. Now remember that 3 into 2 is 6, and that is why basically the product of these two terms, or all the terms inside this reshape, should be equal to the product of the original dimensions. So here the original dimensions are 3 cross 2, and that's why I can reshape into 1 cross 6. If I was to give, if I was to give something like 2 cross 6, then it wouldn't work because it'll throw me an error. Okay. Now this is another important thing that I want to talk about. It's called a subpackage. So it's a package of the NP library, and it's called linalg. So this, and I don't know if I'm guessing not most of you haven't done linear algebra yet, but linear algebra just deals with matrices and multiplications and distances and vectors and everything like that. So you'll have it in your later courses. And for now, I'll just list out some important functions. So whenever you want to access a linear algebra function, so that can be computing a distance, a norm. So I'll come to what a norm is. Also note this down if you guys are like taking notes or something. norm is a very important function, and there are different kinds of norms. So for now, we'll just look at the standard norm, and we'll see it's used in a lot of places. Like you'll use it to evaluate regression tasks, compute the sum of squares in many algorithms. So and again, you can obviously do this using normal Python code, but it's always faster to use NumPy than writing your own code, because they have the data structure itself. It's not a normal Python list, it's a NumPy array, and that works much faster than Python list. So here what this is doing is it's taking the square of everything in the matrix. So 1 square plus 2 square plus 3 square plus 4 square plus 5 square plus 6 square, and it's taking the sum and then taking the root. Okay, so that is what the norm is, remember. And again here, like if I want to find the distance between 2 points, say 3, 4 and 0, 0. So basically this is the distance of 3, 4 from the origin. Okay, and what this means is I'm first creating a NumPy array. So you can see inside the NumPy array there's just a normal Python list. So there's nothing fancy about a NumPy array. It's just a Python list, and you just wrap it around the NumPy array function. And basically I'm subtracting two vectors or two coordinates. This is just normally how we would compute the distance between 2 points. 3 minus 0 whole square plus 4 minus 0 whole square, the whole root. So this is exactly doing that. This is giving you, like I said, norm will give, first it'll carry out the subtraction. So you'll get 3, 4, and then it'll take the sum of squares and root it. So that's why you're getting 5. Okay, so firstly, is everyone up to this point, is everyone with me, or does anyone have any doubts if I'm going too fast or slow or whatever, or if you guys already know all of this, let me know. I'll go a bit faster or slower. But it's important you guys tell me.
Sir, can you repeat the norm function again?
Yeah. Okay. So what the norm function does, now you'll have an array, and this can be anything. Okay. So even if your array was like, if your array, just simply think your array was this right now. Okay. And what norm does is it takes the square of all the numbers in this. So 1 square plus 2 square plus 23 square, sorry, plus 4 square plus 5 square. Basically, it'll take the sum of all squares and then take the root. And it's important because this whole thing, this root of sum of squares, is a very important property in machine learning. It's used in many places. That's why I was just stressing on it. It's nothing new. It's just taking the root of sum of squares. Okay, but you always remember that you compute it using this. You never write your own code or own function for this, because this is much faster. Okay, anything else? Then if not, I'll go ahead.
Can you please zoom in a little bit?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Is this fine?
Yes.
And you guys have opened the notebooks, right? Or are you seeing the screen right now? If you get stuck, and I'd advise you to see the screen, but if at any point you get stuck, just keep the GitHub reference open in another tab, and it's the same thing. You just won't be able to run it, but you can still copy paste it or like go through it. Okay, so if nothing is clear on my screen or something is wrong, just do that.
Can you please discuss one more time the axis 1, axis 0, axis 1?
Yeah, okay. This is very important. So it's good you all are asking me this right now. So axis refers to the argument of the shape. So this shape has 2 dimensions, right? 3 and 2. Basically, it has 1 comma between 3 and 2. That means it has 2 dimensions. Okay, it has 3 rows. It has 2 columns. In the future, we'll deal with matrices that have more dimensions, like 3 dimensions, 4 dimensions. This has 2 dimensions. So 0 refers to the first dimension, and 1 refers to the second dimension. Remember this. So axis 0 is the row axis. So if I'm computing mean for the row axis, it means I'll add everything on the rows. So here 1, 3, 5 are the rows, and 2, 4, 6, 1, 3, 5, 2, 4, 6 are the rows. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, you know what the rows are, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And for each row, you're computing the mean. So the rows are 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, 6. I'm sorry for the blunder. And you're going to compute the mean along the rows. So that means individually, this is the one corresponding to axis 0. Okay, so see here, 1 plus 3 plus 5 divide by 3 because there are 3 rows. Similarly, 2 plus 4 plus 6 divide by 3 because there are 3 rows. That will give you 3 and 4. So this gives you the mean across the rows. And now now this is the opposite thing. Now if I make axis 1, then this will be along the columns. So 1 plus 2 is 3, divide that by 2 because we have 2 columns. So 1.5. 3 plus 4 is 7, so 3.5. Similarly. So did you understand, or do you want to ask something else?
Yes, I got.
Okay, fine. So, okay, so now these are some extra functions, extra mathematical functions, square root, exponential. This is basically e to the power 5 and log. There are many such functions. Okay, don't worry about that. Whenever you need to look up a function, you can always Google. So if I want to look up square root, just type numpy square root. Always follow the documentation. You will come here. Even though there are other blogs and links, always follow this documentation. So for now, it's very basic. We're just looking at the first argument. They have some examples also. Okay, and the examples are a little complex, but you'll get the idea of a function. You're just taking the square root of an array. I'll come to that. So these are just some of the functions that NumPy can compute. Okay, so now let's talk about matrices. This thing was a matrix, but I'm going to be creating 2 more. Okay, so this is also an important function. What this does is generate Okay, so what this does is it's generating random integers. So remember np.random.randint. Here randint means random integers. If you just give rand instead of randint, basically if it's this function, then this will generate decimals also. But right now I just wanted to keep it simple. So this is the starting limit. Remember this, the starting limit, the ending limit, but it does not include the ending limit. So it starts from 1 up to 9 and it should be of the shape 4 comma 3, and this one is of the shape 3 comma 4. Okay, so here you can see it's generated random numbers, 2 matrices, and you can guess the shapes. Okay, 4 cross 3 and 3 cross 4. It's pretty intuitive. Now the normal matrix multiplication that you do, that can be done like this using an @ symbol. It's called a decorator sometimes, but just remember it like this, @. Okay, matrix 1 @ matrix 2, and obviously remember the condition that your 3 and 3 are equal, the usual condition for matrix multiplication. You guys have done all this, right, in your 12th or 11th, 12th?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah. So it's just a normal matrix multiplication. If you ignore this, like if you don't satisfy this condition, then it'll throw an error. So just remember, it's just like your normal matrix multiplication. Now again, this is important. This is how you take the transpose of a matrix. Okay. You just do dot t. So so matrix 1 dot t is so this is a transpose of matrix 1. Okay, now remember this. This is the element-wise multiplication, and this was a matrix multiplication. Can anyone just tell me the difference between the two, roughly? I know I've not talked about it yet, but what do you understand from the names?
In element-wise multiplication, for example, we have two matrices A and B. Then we will be multiplying A00 and B00, A01 and B01. Like that, we will be multiplying.
Okay, exactly. Very good. So that's one thing. Okay, and remember that obviously for element-wise multiplication, the shape has to be the same, right? That's why I've taken a transpose. If I wouldn't have taken a transpose, so one is 3 cross 4, one is 4 cross 3. I can't have an element-wise multiplication unless the shapes are same, right? Because like you said, it's A00 with B00. So for that, I just took the transpose to make the shapes the same. Remember that for element-wise multiplication, shapes must be same. Shapes, dimensions, whatever you call it. So, okay, so everyone's clear with the difference between this and this. This is a matrix multiplication and this is a element-wise multiplication. You guys know what a matrix multiplication is, right? Like the stuff you had in your 12th.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so now this is a pseudo inverse. Okay, so I'm assuming everyone knows what an inverse of a matrix is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what a pseudo, I don't know if you guys know what a pseudo inverse is, but you'll have this later on in linear algebra. Remember two things about pseudo inverses, that you don't need a square matrix. Obviously there are two conditions to for a matrix to be invertible. Okay, it has to be a square matrix and also it has like the determinant cannot be 0. And you obviously, like you'll see later on, whenever we do machine learning, whenever we run algorithms, you will construct basically from the data, you will construct matrices and you will basically use the matrix, you do matrix multiplications. And now in those cases, if you have an invertible, if you have a matrix that's non-invertible, so where the determinant is 0, you'll run into a problem. Basically, when the determinant is 0, you cannot take the inverse. That's like dividing by 0 or something. It gives you a runtime error. So that's why there's this thing called a pseudo inverse. Just remember, it's like an approximation to the inverse. I won't go into the theory. You can read about it, but I don't think now is a good time to. You'll learn about it later on. It's a little complicated mathematically, but just remember that in a lot of places you'll see that instead of taking the inverse, people take the pseudo inverse, and that's because no one knows. I mean, when you get data from a data set or from the real world, you don't know that after putting it in a matrix, it'll be invertible or non-invertible. And obviously, you can check if the determinant is 0 or not, but you still want to use the algorithm even if that condition holds. So that's when a lot of people use pseudo inverses. Okay, so is everyone clear about this? Just what a pseudo inverse is. You don't have to know how you calculate it for now. Maybe we can do that later, but for now it's not important. Do you understand the difference between a pseudo inverse and inverse?
Yes.
But yeah, does it give accurate value for an invertible matrix, the pseudo inverse?
Yeah, it will. We'll give you this. Yeah.
What's the meaning of Li and ALG?
That's linear algebra. That's the like. This is just a called like it's a package of the NumPy library. The full form is linear algebra. So just to remember.
So for a invertible matrix, pseudo inverse and the normal inverse are both same, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and one more thing. But you'll never use a pseudo inverse. Basically, what happens is if you see the formula for pseudo inverse, then if the matrix is invertible, it will come down to a normal inverse. So basically, you just use the pseudo inverse. In some algorithms like PCA, it's called principal component analysis. And for now, don't write it down. I'll come to that later. And here, like again, det is the determinant. Then abs is absolute. Now, does anyone know what a covariance matrix is? Have you guys done statistics? Firstly, all of you in college.
Yes.
Not really.
Yes.
Okay, so you know what variance is, what covariance is.
Yes.
Anyone who wants me to explain it? Okay, fine. So
Yeah. Could you explain?
okay, so variance between, like, if
Variance, I know. Covariance is a new thing.
yeah, so covariance is, it basically has a formula, and I'll send you a link to all the formulae and everything later. But covariance is so variance is within the same, like if you have let's say you have bananas, or let's say you have apples, and you have green apples. Okay, now say you have some numbers representing these. So say this is the number of apples a person eats per day and a number of green apples a person eats per day. So the variance would be using these numbers. You basically, you know the formula for variance. Okay, so you use only this data, like only apples, and you find the variance. You, for green apples also, the variance of green apples is only using this. Now covariance is between two variables. So between apples and green apples, if I want to see like how connected they are, or if the data, basically if this was the same, then this would have a very high covariance. What this means is people who eat one, like people who, suppose these are three different people who are eating green apples on 3 different days or same day, whatever. Basically 3 data points. It means that there's a correlation between apples and green apples. It means that if people eat apples, they'll also eat green apples. Okay. It does. Remember, okay, we'll come to causation like later on. I don't want to confuse you all, but just remember that you use covariance to see how connected two variables are. Okay, covariance, sorry, and then you can find the correlation. You know what the correlation is? You basically bound the covariance between -1 and 1. Have you done this in stats?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we have.
Okay. So now, okay, so forget all of this. This was like a lot of technical stuff, but now let's come to something fun. So in NumPy, there's this very interesting thing called broadcasting. Okay, and what broadcasting means is, here here if you see what is the, okay, first can anyone tell me the shape of this? What is the shape of A?
2,3.
Yeah, 2,3. And now if usually, like I told you first, okay, that if you're doing element wise multiplication, you'd want the shapes to be the same. But NumPy is smart enough to understand that this means that you want to multiply everything inside the array by 2. And this might seem very like intuitive because it's nothing special, you're just multiplying by 2. But what it's doing is, like it's not 2, okay? So what it will do is, this was 2,3, okay, the shape. So what it will do is, internally it will make so you're getting this, it will make a matrix of 2 of the shape 2,3, and sorry, it'll make a matrix of the shape 2,3, like np dot, basically this is a matrix of 2,3, and then it will add 2 everywhere. So okay, this just seems like you right now you might be thinking why it does this, but when you see this example, you'll understand. So here, similarly, what it's going to do is, what is the shape of this?
1,3.
Yeah. So it will change that 1,3 into 2,3. And also notice one more very important thing. I'm not converting this into an NP array. This is just a normal Python list. So still NumPy is very smart, and it will understand that, okay, first I change this to a NumPy array. After changing this to a NumPy array, I'll broadcast it. Matlab, I'll change the dimension of 1,3 to 2,3. And it won't do anything special. It's not going to add numbers on its own. This 1,3 thing will become 2,3. Basically, this will just copy the numbers down. So this will become 987. 987. So basically, you're adding 987 to each row. Okay. So if you see here, see the result. Okay, not here. See the result here. This is multiplied by 2. But see the result here. 9 plus 1 is 10. 8 plus 2 is 10, 7 plus 3 is 10. And similarly, 9 plus 4, 13, 8 plus 5, 13, and 7 plus 6 is 13. So this is what broadcasting is. Did you guys understand broadcasting? It's very important.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And similarly, now I wanted this to be across the other dimension. Okay. So this was like making 1 comma 3 into 2 comma 3. What do you guys think is the shape of this?
2 comma 1.
Yeah, it's 2 comma 1. So it will change 2 comma 1 into
2 comma 3.
2,3.
yeah, exactly. So this 9 and 8 will be replicated everywhere. So now think about the columns. So 9 plus 1 is 10, 8 plus and 8 plus 4 is 12. Then 9 plus 2 is 11. 8 plus 8 plus 5 is 13. So you're getting it, right? Like I just changed the columns.
Yes, yes.
So now, okay, firstly, does anyone have any doubts with broadcasting? Okay, so let's move to Boolean logic. So NumPy arrays are very smart. You can also basically use Boolean logic. So here, just see what array A is: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So here, the only number greater than 5 is 6. So it constructs a matrix like this of the same dimensions, remember. And then it'll compare every element in the matrix to 5. So 1 is less than 5, so false. 2 is less than 5, so false. Only 6 is greater than 5, so true. Okay, and now numpy.logical AND is basically your normal AND that you do. So A equal to 5, and what is A equal to 5? A equal to 5 will have false everywhere except for here. Okay, are you getting it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you just take an and that will, because there's false everywhere, basically in all like for AND to be true, you need both the values to be true, and that's not satisfied anywhere. So that's why this is false everywhere. And logical OR, you will say there's a true here and here, because this is 6, so that's greater than 5, and this is 5, so that's equal to 5. Okay, so I hope you guys haven't seen the whole notebook yet, but can you guys do this? Small question. You can look at I mean, you have the access to the whole notebook, but only look at whatever we've done before this, and can you guys compute, like just tell me what the code for this would be? I'll give you all, it's 52 already, I'll give you all 3 minutes. So basically, you can use this to create random numbers between 1 and 10 of the size 4 cross 4, okay? After this, what would you do to print the sum of all numbers greater than 5? And you can't use any if conditions. Do you guys want to try it, or should I like show the solution?
No, we won't try.
Okay, fine, try. I'll also shut my camera for a little bit because my laptop is heating up. You don't have to use anything new, only whatever's been taught till now. That's enough. Okay, for all those who want to like see how Colab works, you just go to collab.research.google.com and it will open a new notebook for you. So here you click on new notebook and it'll open a new notebook for you. And then you'll get the same thing that I have. Okay. And the best part about Collab, I forgot to tell you the very best part about Collab. So here, I've imported a library. And have you all used Python before? Like other than just coding to install libraries or something?
Yeah.
So you have to pip install. If you are running it natively, you have to pip install the functions, the libraries. But Collab, all the data science and machine learning libraries are already provided by Google and Collab. So it basically, I'll show you where the path is once this connects. It's already loaded in the OS. So this is like your own mini OS. Okay. Okay. So did you guys do it? Should I just show you the code since we're running out of time? Or do you guys want to try it?
Would it be np.sum a greater than 5?
np.sum. No, what that would do is give you the sum of how many ever elements are greater than 5. I'm telling you, I want the sum of the numbers in this array. So what you are saying now is, so your 9 is greater than 5, 6, 6, 9, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers are greater than 5. Now if you do np.sum of a greater than 5, that will give you 5. Whereas I don't want 5. I want 9 plus 6 plus 6 plus 9 plus 7. Got it?
Okay.
And you get it, right? Like why this would give you 5? Because you'll have 5 truths. And the sum of 5 truths is 5.
Got it.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so I'll just show you the solution. So you have to do what you said, like that is one step. But after doing that, you have to multiply it by the original matrix. So can anyone tell me what this code is doing?
First
It is making an array of 1 and 0 and then multiplying it
Yeah, exactly.
element wise.
Or just a minor correction, it's making an array of booleans. So booleans are true or false in case of NumPy. Okay, like what you're saying is perfectly right. Then what it will do is convert false and true to zeros and ones, and then it will multiply with the original one. So yeah, what you said is exactly right. I'm just giving a very minor detail. So yeah, then basically you create a mask. This is also called a mask. So you create a mask, a boolean mask, then you multiply it with the original array. And after multiplying, whatever you are left with is all numbers greater than 5. So after multiplying now, all these numbers that are not greater than 5, they'll become 0. And then you'll only remain with these numbers, 966, 97. So the sum of those numbers is 37. Okay. Okay, now just one last thing. I want to teach you, you guys can wait, right, for 10-15 minutes more?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, okay. So this is not called cheat sort. Don't take it literally. I always use this in interviews also, where basically I'm supposed to sort one array according to the second array. So now, say assume you have 5 people, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one costs, or you have 5 things, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and thing 1 costs 100, thing 2 costs 20. So you get it. Basically this is the index of each thing and this is the price of each thing. Now I'm saying that sort the indices according to the prices in ascending order. So in that case, what you do, remember this function is very important. It's called argsort. So argsort will give you, it will return the arguments. So can anyone just wildly guess what this is doing? This code.
Determining positions of the array ascending order.
Yeah.
Sorted them.
Okay, I can't hear you clearly, but yeah, that's
Sorting in ascending order.
sorting in.
Ascending order.
Yeah, but
Sorting in ascending order of the prices.
yeah. So this argsort function, it returns the arguments. So if you sort prices, you will see that the smallest number is 13. So that is at position 2, isn't it? These are the positions. Okay, tell me the positions 2, 1, 54 is what? 0, 1, 2, 3.
3, 3, 4, 5, 3, 4, 1, 0.
Yeah, 3, 4, 5. Now, okay, so this we got this. Now,
21340.
basically, 0. No, 0 will be last, right? 5, 0. 0 will be last now.
It will be till
There
like
would be
4
5
only.
elements.
0 to 4.
Okay, sorry. This is fine?
Yeah, now fine.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so basically, so it'll return the indices of this array. Now what's going to happen is, so remember I told you about slicing?
Yes.
This is exactly like slicing. So when you do this, actually you have to do this. You have to give a list of the order you want it sorted in. So index of this, so at position 2 you have 3, that's why you're getting 3. At position 1 you have 2, so you're getting 2. At position 3 you have 4. So now are you getting it?
Yes.
Yeah. So did you guys understand this? I just had to rush through the last part.
Sir, like I'm not getting it. Could you repeat it once?
I'll write it down in words. So this was step 1. So after step 1 we got this, okay? I'm saying arc sort of prices. So when you sort prices in ascending order, the smallest number is at what index? What is the index of 13? 2, exactly. So similarly, then 20, that is index 1. So when you sort it like this, like when you sort this array according to the index, you will get this array 2, 1, 3, 4, 0. Then what you are doing is slicing index as per okay. So basically here I'm sorting index according to prices. In the end, what is my end goal? That 13 is at like if these both have the same shapes. Okay, I'm saying that thing 3 costs 13, thing 1 costs 100, thing 2 costs 20. So what is the cheapest thing? It's thing 3, right?
Yes.
So for that, instead of sorting, I know in Python you can normally sort it. It's very easy to sort according to one array, get the index. We're doing exactly the same thing, but this is just in one line of code and it's very fast. So just remember, you don't even need to remember this logic, how it's happening, although it's very easy. Just remember that I wanted index sorted according to prices. So that's why I did arc sort prices and sorted the index according to this. Okay, if you don't understand, like just go through this again. If you don't understand this, ask me again tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow we'll start early. We won't we won't run into this situation. Tomorrow we'll start sharp at 11. Today was just the first turn, so we waited a little. Okay. Did you still not understand, or do you want me to explain it again?
No, like could you explain the index, that thing, the last line you have written?
Yeah.
So
So
basically you said slicing index as per the array written from ARG SORT. So that thing.
So okay, so this ARG SORT will return this array. Uh, the output of this will be this array. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Do you agree with this? Whoever
Yes,
asked the question.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So then what I'm doing is now it's just like picking. Like I'm just saying ki first get the second one from index. Now remember I'm slicing index. So get the element at position 2, which is 3. Then get the element at position 1, which is 2. Then get the element at position 3, that is 4. Okay. So are you getting it? Now slicing the
Yes.
index. This is the array returned by argsort, and we are slicing. Slicing means, okay, let me just say arranging. Okay, we are just arranging it the index array. This okay. Okay, index is not index here. It's the name of the array. Index is this index array. Okay. Arranging the index array as per the array returned from argsort. So now is it clear?
Yeah, now I got it. Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so make sure that you guys go through this. Did everyone? Okay, this you and everyone uses GitHub, right?
Yes.
So you can follow me here, like GitHub Raj LM10, and you can like check out my other projects also. But more importantly, you'll see that this is the repo where I'll be putting in all the material. Okay, so it's called ZBC ML workshop, and then I'll number it also. So or I'll like just name it by the topic. So if you open this NumPy basics, you'll get everything, all the code that we did today. You can run it like how I showed you. Basically, you just have to click on this and click this. Oh, everything is in place. Just run it. Click on this link, and it'll take you to this blog. Also note down one more thing. I also write blogs, and I want you to just read one blog. So it's called an AutoML tool, and we'll be using it tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll show you EDA, okay? And so you just need to make an account, like a Google account. It's free to use this, and then you can like start reading the blogs. Sometimes it doesn't even ask you to log in. Okay, so my internet is a little weak because of this. Basically, okay. So this is the guide I was telling you to refer to. It has everything, and it's always fun to read. Just like if you want some interesting visualizations, it'll give you visualization. Then it'll give you all the functions, attributes, different functions, linspace. Okay, linspace is also an important function. You can read about it here. Okay, so if you guys like go through this, if you don't get anything, or you and not necessarily you have to do it today only, and I know it's a weekend, do it during the week also. You can ask me anytime during the week. And secondly, I want you guys to just do it for tomorrow. Okay, before coming, it'll take you 7-8 minutes. Just go through this. And if you don't understand everything completely, it's okay. I'll explain it. This will be done at the end of tomorrow's class. So first I'll show you how to do EDA through like from scratch. Then I'll show you a tool which does it automatically for you. So EDA is just exploring data. We'll like see that next class. And this is a very nice tool that just helps you explore it. Okay, so read the whole thing. And I write like I'll keep giving you more blogs to read. I have also written some of them. So if you guys like make the account, if you guys make a Medium account, like you just have to log in through Google, just search for my profile, like you'll be able to access it from here, and just follow me on Medium, and then I keep writing every week, so then you'll get access to all my blogs. Okay, and like I blog for free, so that won't be a problem. Like you'll be able to read as many as you want. So for tomorrow, at least, forget all that. For tomorrow, just make a Medium account and just read this, okay? And after reading this, you guys can ask me anything at the end of tomorrow's session, because I know that you guys won't fully understand this, so it's okay. I'll explain EDA from scratch tomorrow, and after that, at the end of tomorrow's class, for this will take like 10-15 minutes. We'll just go through this very quick, okay? So how was today? Was it fine? Any feedback? Any suggestions? If you want me to go fast, slow. Anything?
it was good. It was a base.
Okay. So, and also if you guys feel that you already know what is being taught, you can tell me. I'll like teach you things that are not very common. Okay, I just want to teach like machine learning from scratch and give you proper basics. That's why I'm going so slow, and that's why I'm teaching you like NumPy. And I'm not going to jump straight away into models, show you 10 different models. We'll also do regression from scratch, and when we do regression from scratch, it won't be your like we won't find the weights using your normal statistics where we'll use something called gradient descent. So all that we'll cover later. But just remember that if you're stuck at any point, just ask me or contact me or anyone from ZBC. Okay? And don't forget to refer to both of these links. You can refer to the first one later on, but before tomorrow, I want you to read the second link. Okay, so yeah, thanks. Jugal? Is he there?
Yeah, so hi guys, Tanishq here, and sorry for the microphone issues in the start. So it would be really great if you would want to give any feedback about the session. You can unmute now or also contact me or the event coordinators over WhatsApp or Discord. Both positive and negative feedbacks will be more than welcome for us. And so yeah, thank you all for joining, and also special thanks to Raj Bhaiya for such a wonderful session.
Thank you all for joining. Yeah.
Yeah, so looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Yeah. Be there at 11 tomorrow. We'll start.
Like I just don't have doubt.
Yeah.
Like if like I am using Visual Studio Code, so like in that I need to install like NumPy and that all things. But in Google Colab, like it is already like we can tell it is a built-in one. So
Yeah.
directly we need to use.
Yeah.
Okay, so in Google Colab we need not to install anything. Just
No,
like we can
no,
use
you
directly
need to- you
all
need
libraries.
No, not all libraries. So all the common libraries like sklearn, Keras, TensorFlow, then what else is NumPy, Pandas, everything. Basically, all the machine learning libraries are already installed. And I'll just show you. Wait, give me 1 minute. I'll have to find that. So it's like your in. Do you guys do you know that when you pip install something, it goes in your user file, like it goes to user and library, user local. Basically, there's a place in your library, in your computer where it gets stored.
Yeah.
So all of that is pre-installed in the OS that Google is using, Google Colab is using. So it's already a part of the disk, and it's already downloaded in the hard disk. That's why you don't have to use it.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other doubts?
How to start coding this in VS Code? What we need to do?
Okay, so I'll share my screen. So I am using a MacBook, but you open your command prompt on Windows, and I'm going to be installing, like people use a virtual environment or whatever. I don't, because I have very little storage. But you can either do that or you have pip installed.
I guess no.
Okay, so you just do pip install. Don't write 3. I have to write 3 on the Mac because I have multiple Python versions. But write pip install. Just write this pip install NumPy. Okay. After that, all the imports will work in VS Code. Okay. But note down this command. And in the future, also for other libraries, you just have to change the library name. Like you can use pandas. I didn't want to waste time on like running it locally because and Colab is free and it probably has more RAM than your own computer. It has 12 GB. So so then it's always better to start using. I'm not sure if it's 8 GB or 12 GB. I have the Pro version, so that's why I'm a little confused. But it's still it's at least 8 GB. I think it's 12 if I'm not wrong. Okay.
Bhaiya, can you tell like how to transfer the GitHub account, the code?
How to
transfer the code from Colab to GitHub account?
Okay, okay, fine. Like how to save the code to GitHub. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, Bhaiya.
So here go to file, then save a copy in GitHub. Then it will, I've already done it, so I can't do it again. But once you click on this, it will ask you to enter your GitHub password. You do that and then it will automatically save it. Okay. But you have to create a repo first. Create an empty repo. You know how to create an empty repo? A new repo?
Yes, Bhaiya.
Okay, so you create an empty repo. I'll just show you what I mean. Like go here, new repo, then enter the name, $0 club or whatever you want to call it, create it, then leave it, then go here, go to file, save a copy in GitHub. It will ask you for your password, then it will ask you to select the name. So enter the name of the repo, then click on save and done. Okay.
Yes, Bhaiya. Thank you.
Bhaiya, could you repeat the command pip install?
NumPy, NUMPY. Okay, like if you guys don't have any doubts, we can leave. No need to wait.